Hi guys, welcome back to the Astro Imaging channel. Tonight's session, year in review, new gear, star parties, awesome photos, and more. It's going to be presented by Josh. But before we jump into that, I do want to show off our current image of the week, and we got a blurb from last week's image of the week. But this week, congrats to Don Curry, the image of the Rosette Nebula. And it's data taken from Deep Sky West, so dark sky, but that's got to be narrowband. So this week, congrats to Don. That's my fault here. Sorry, guys, I have to fix that. Was that my fault? I don't know. Maybe not. Yeah, but congrats, Don. And for last week's image of the week, I know the imager had some stuff to tell Josh. And Josh, I think you're in the room, right?
I am in the room. Can you hear me?
We can. Go ahead and share. Oh, and I see it on your computer screen. So there we go. I gave you the camera.
Okay, so this was a picture of the California Nebula from Greg Marshall, NGC 1499. It's an interesting job because he basically used a lot of hydrogen alpha and just a little bit of O3 and sulfur as his pseudoluminance, and he said it is about 10 hours of exposure with 4 in HA, 3 each in O3 and S2. And it was captured with this QSI 683 WSG with 3 nanometer Astrodon filters and a William Optics Star 71 on a AP Mach 1. So nice job on that picture, Greg, and thanks for sharing the information.
Awesome. And we keep getting asked this, share your images with us. You can share them on Facebook. You can share it on Google Plus just by sending the image to the Astro Imaging channel, or you could always email it over to us, which is contact@theastroimagingchannel.com. We get it either way. And we're keeping our eyes out for images just posted out there. And Josh, you want to say something about Facebook?
Sure. So that's one of the things that we'll go over tonight briefly is that Facebook has been something new that we've been trying this year. We're trying the best ways we can to make it easy to follow us and easy to share stuff with us. So we have Google+, we have YouTube, and Facebook has been a big boon this year. So as you can see over here on the Facebook page, every week I'll make a post here where you can share your image of the week submission in the comments. And then we actually have an archive of all the previous images then shared, so we can go through those. Another thing that's new this year on the Facebook page is that we are actually putting the presentations every week into Facebook. So if you're just wondering what's coming up, you can check out our events, which we're going to start posting ahead of time. And then if you want to actually get into the presentation on YouTube, watch it live, you can click on the links here. And in the YouTube room now, you can actually comment and chat the whole time. We've had quite a few pretty active chat rooms over the last couple of months in YouTube since it's made the change over. So this is definitely a great place to click if you want to watch the presentation live and get your questions answered. We're always, have at least 1 or 2 people in the YouTube room that are conveying the questions over to the live presenters. So definitely check us out on Facebook if you have Facebook. If not, we'll keep using Google+, and we'll probably be revamping our website early next year as well. So I think with that, Adam, if you're all ready, I'm just going to hop into the presentation.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so tonight we're going to just basically go over some new gear that came out this year, talk about that some. We're going to talk about a few of the star parties that we attended and different events. And then we'll go over some pictures. So it's kind of a little bit of an open session, but just basically chatting about some of the big things this year. If you have any comments or things that you'd like us to talk about or ideas, please definitely feel free to add those to the comment section either in YouTube or into Facebook or wherever you want, even the Google Plus room, and we'll definitely bring those up. So what I'm going to start off talking about, and we're going to do a little different tonight, is just kind of share the web browsers. We're going to start off talking about cameras. Cameras were a really big deal this year. We've been begging for quite a while for larger sensors and better sensors and more camera companies, and it felt like for a long time we were stuck with the same handful of 8300 sensors, and then maybe a couple smaller Sony sensors and a lot of somewhat outdated sensors. So we do have a couple that came out this year that really made a big splash, and they were the 16200 based sensor, and then also the 1600 sensor. So the 16200 is a CCD, a KAF based CCD, and the 1600 is actually a CMOS camera. So there was countless debates about both of these cameras and countless debates about which one you should get, and really they both turned out to do really well, and we've seen a lot of really great images so far from both of these cameras this year. But to go into a little more detail, 16200 camera, I just pulled up one here, which is the FLI version. That's being offered currently by FLI, QHY, SBIG, Moravian, and also I think that ATIC. I don't know if ATIC is available quite yet, but they are planning on making that available here shortly. So to go into the specs just a little bit, it's got pixels that are just a little bit larger than the KAF 8300 that everyone used for so long. And I think that their pixels are 6 millimeters, or sorry, 6 microns by 6 microns. And it is roughly 25 by 17 millimeters, so it's actually pretty much a full APS-C size sensor. So this has been one that's really kind of taken off. You know, everyone that was using the smaller 8300 for a long time just really wish there was a larger version of the 8300. So we now finally have one that has very similar performance as the 8300, but it's a little bit larger. And it comes in some pretty reasonable prices, really. Looking at the offerings from QHY and Moravian, those are definitely kind of down in the mid $3,000 ranges, really affordable. They both offer packages where you can get filter wheels and off-axis guiders with them as well. So they took a little while to get out this year. We were all excited at the beginning of the year waiting for them, and then once they started hitting the market, we've seen a lot of really good work with them. So that was an exciting camera that came out. And like I said, there was kind of an endless debate between the CCD and the CMOS. And the CMOS was really kind of the even bigger jump this year. It was, the first time that we've seen CMOS in a larger sensor with cooled cooling capabilities, as well as in mono. And ZWO has really kind of stepped up the game and trying out a lot of these newer sensors, as has QHY. QHY came in just a little bit after ZWO, but ZWO for a while, started off a little bit on the fringe with some of their smaller CMOS sensors for planetary work, and they really gained a great reputation with some of their smaller sensors in the CMOS work, and came out with this 1600 this year. And so for people who are unfamiliar with the 1600, it's got a pretty similar sensor size to the 8300 chip that you might find in like the SBIGs or QSI 8300 based cameras, but it's got a little bit smaller pixels. And the exciting part about it is it's got very, very low read noise, and it has very, very low dark current noise. They anywhere between 1 and 2 electrons usually, maybe up to 3 depending on what gain you're using. But they've definitely really taken the market by storm. We see it all over Cloudy Nights and Facebook and Astrobin now. Everyone's using them. And the other part that's really exciting is the price point on these. They are kind of in a league of their own compared to the CCDs on the price points. You see here is a full kit where you can actually get the camera itself with the filter wheel and a matching filter set that is actually made specifically for this camera to get a good response curve. And that's all coming in for right around $2,000. So it's really, for a sensor that's as big as the 8300 and has those fantastic characteristics, it's really been a huge deal in the astronomy market, and it's nice to see it kind of changing up. So the other thing that is pretty new and exciting about ZWO's work with this ASI 1600 is that Sam, the guy who owns ZWO, has been very interactive with his customers, and so this camera is constantly evolving as he's getting feedback in the market. So it started off without a filter wheel and just the camera, Then he added a 5-position filter wheel. I know he's now adding a 7-position filter wheel and an off-axis guider. Also has a lens adapter for this camera. The other thing is we had some little bit of issues with Dew, and he was trying to address that with a new faceplate. He also added a USB hub in the back that you can see here. So it's very exciting. It's a dynamic product. It's definitely still kind of climbing the maturity curve compared to some of the CCD companies that have been out there for a while, but it's a price offering that we just haven't really seen yet in the market, with a kind of camera that we haven't really seen yet in the market. So I think we're all really excited to see where this goes next. I know that there's now a full frame color CMOS that Tolga has been sharing some work from, and he's doing some really nice stuff with that. And I think that the big question everyone's really waiting to hear the answer to is, when will the full frame CMOS sensor camera come out? And I think we all have high hopes, if not next year, maybe the year after, but hopefully as soon as possible, based on some of the really fantastic images that are coming out of this camera. I think we'd all like to see something like a full frame mono CMOS camera available before too long. This one, I believe, Tolga, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think has something like 3.8 or 3.9 micron pixels. So you can really get some very nice resolution with this camera, and smaller refractors as well. There's also a handful of other cameras that ZWO is offering that has small pixels and are nice matches for small refractors. Adam, I'm just gonna check to see if there's any comments or things that people want to go over with these.
2.8 micron pixels.
2.8.
2.8.
Now I'm going to have to pull it up because I want to make sure we're accurate on that.
I think that's what he said 2.8 about. We'll see.
I think that they are actually a little bit larger than that. Now I know that the ASI 178 has 2-point-something micron pixels, but we'll I guess we'll pull up the specs on this one.
And Dan says 3.8. So.
3.8. 3.8 sounds right. 3.8 sounds right. So yeah, they're either way, they are still small pixels, and they're really a nice match for kind of smaller refractors. You can still get a pretty good image scale with them. Like I said, they've just been an exciting product. It's been very exciting seeing what ZWO is doing with these cameras, and it's going to be exciting to see what they do in the future. We know that they're going to kind of keep pushing the envelope. And I also want to comment on QHY, and I'll pull up their page because they've done such a great job also kind of doing this. And the QHY not only is coming out with some of these cold MOS, they're also coming out with some cameras that are all-in-one cameras as well. So I'm going to pull up their QHY 16200. And I mentioned the size of that sensor, APS-H, and the size of that sensor is 27 by 21.6. But what's really exciting about some of these cameras is that not only are they putting a filter wheel in there and they're giving you optional off-axis guider, but some of the cameras you can actually get with a little computer built into them as well. So they've been really pushing the envelope, not only with the sensors they're using, but kind of some of the experimentation they're doing, and bringing more and more stuff into their camera so that you can actually plug all your USB stuff in there, and then you can actually plug in your guide cam, and then you can, with some of these, even run the whole system right off of the camera. So we'll come over to the one that that they are using right now, which is the 183 and the 163M. Those are probably the two really popular ones right now. So I want to make sure we are hitting both QHY and ZWO with these. They're both doing really exciting work, and looking for people who are breaking ground right now, it's definitely these guys. And here's the pixel sizes of all these different cameras. So we were talking about that 1600. It has the 3.8 micron pixels. Same sensor that goes into this camera goes into the ZWO ASI 1600. So really exciting between both of them, and I know that we're all really looking forward to NEAF next year and seeing what's going to happen, what maybe new things are going to be introduced out at NEAF next year. So Adam, I'll stop before I move on from these two big cameras, unless we have more to talk about. Yeah, it looks like we're all good.
We're all good. I did get my NEAF email. I think it was this morning, though. So
yeah,
we're already selling tickets.
Yep, me too. It's going to be a fun show, and seems like things are starting to change a little more. So I think we're all looking forward to that. Guide cameras is another one that's kind of an exciting market now. I know that for a while there, QHY had the dominant guide camera, and they have another good one out this year as well. But first one to hit the Lotostar X2 auto guider. It's you will find a guide star with this. You know, assuming that your guide camera is in focus and that you are shooting at anything like a reasonable focal length, this is just an extremely clean guide camera. Very, very nice sensor, and honestly, even their original Lodestar just works for me in pretty much everything. But I know that some guys that were shooting with longer focal lengths were really struggling, and this, I think, has helped some folks who were having to rotate their cameras just to find a guide star a lot. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to work amazing for every single focal length, but it's I know quite a few people who went to this guide camera and no longer need to rotate their whole system to find a guide star. And if we come over to another one of the offerings from QHY, they have the QHY 5.3 camera. After that QHY 5.2 El Mono was so popular for so long, they now have the QHY 5.3. I don't have much experience with this. I know that some of the people who are working with it are really excited, and that not only are they saying that it's a really great guide cam, but some people are actually experimenting on some deep sky imaging with it, especially one of the new things, which is they call it lucky imaging or high-speed imaging, where people are taking lots and lots of short 1-second exposures or half-second exposures on brighter targets and getting really awesome details. And this is one of the main cameras I've seen used for that this year. So it's definitely been the cameras have not only improved for your main imaging cameras, but the guide cameras have also improved quite a bit. And it's been very exciting to see what they have done there. And then now it's not necessarily perfectly new this year, but the one big one that we've talked about, we even had a whole episode on, was the Polemaster. So the Polemasters, for anyone who doesn't know what it is, it's basically an electronic polar scope. This one was really a huge deal earlier this year and has just continued to be a big deal, and I think continues to sell very well. And essentially what you do is you use this to plate solve an image in the sky and get yourself pointed at Polaris, and with a couple rotations of the telescope, you actually can get yourself to make adjustments in your your altitude and azimuth to get polar alignment with under 1 minute accuracy. And I think a handful of the guys in this room have used it, and we know that it's being used very widely. This has just been a huge deal for a lot of people, and probably for a lot of mount makers as well. There were a handful of mounts out there that were really great mounts, but didn't have great polar alignment solutions. And this has just really been a huge help for a lot of people, and it makes life much, much easier. And in some cases, makes mounts that were very challenging to get set up very, very easy to set up now. And so we've seen not only this grow, but we've seen the adapters grow for it, both from QHY. QHY is making adapters for tons of mounts. Myself, I make adapters for this where you can mount it on your dovetail. I know that Avalon just came out with a series of adapters where you can mount this now on some of the smaller mobile mounts with kind of different plates, and we've seen just countless original ideas of how people are mounting these as well. So they've definitely been something that I think a lot of us thought they should be able to do for a long time, and now it's available, and it's great. One other side note, as another polar alignment routine, people are starting to use SharpCap in their polar alignment routine with some of their guide scopes. And that's something that I don't know enough about to review on here, but I think that we'll probably review sometime early next year. That's really catching on. One thing we like to do is make sure that we cover topics that set people up for success in imaging. And I think that we all agree that a good polar alignment is probably one of the first and most important steps to actually get going on imaging. So I think that really covers most of the cameras that I want to cover. And if nobody else has any other cameras or suggestions for cameras in the room, then I'm going to move on. Oh, let me. I'll do a couple other comments based on the comments I see in here. One thing that people are bringing up is the switch to USB 3.0. That switch to USB 3.0 has been really helpful, especially on these CMOS cameras. And one of the reasons is because it reduces the download time. So we didn't cover that point when we talked about the CMOS cameras, but one thing that you can do with them is you can get downloads practically feels like instantaneously. And a lot of us who have been using CCDs for quite a while know that our download times might be 10, 15 seconds all the way up to something like 30 seconds as well. And these CMOSs just aren't like that. You get the download very quick based on the way the chip is designed, and I won't go into the details of that in this show. We've covered that before, but that's part of what has made Lucky Imaging possible, or high-speed imaging, whatever you want to call it. It's Lucky Imaging already is a little bit of a different thing, but the high-speed imaging where you get a frame every second or half second, it's pretty painful to do, and I do that with a CCD, but then you're spending 20 times as long downloading frames as you are actually taking the frames. So that's something that's really makes a lot more sense and is a lot more plausible with these new cameras. So yeah, I guess the oncoming use of USB 3.0 has definitely been a huge thing with the new cameras. And so I see another comment on DSLR imaging and some standalone imaging ideas, and I do want to hit on those. So what I'll do is I'll pull those up and a couple of the things that people are doing with that. And the Lacerta, I'm not sure ever how you're actually supposed to say this, but the Lacerta MGen 2 is a standalone autoguider. That's something that I've never had the pleasure of actually trying. Something that's an attractive thought for me, where you can actually basically go out and image without a laptop is what people are doing with this. I know a couple people, I think in Europe or maybe in the Middle East, who are using these, who are doing really cool stuff with it and have a lot of great things to say about it. They are, you know, we're pushing getting away from big setups out in the field, and I'll talk about some of the stick computers when we get to that point. But this right here, the Lacerta MGen, is definitely one of the things that is helping that. And you know, you can come in and read some more of the details on it, but essentially just allows you to guide without a computer, which is a huge deal. And so some of the people who are doing this imaging, especially with something like this standalone autoguider, are using DSLRs because they don't need the computer with the DSLRs now. So when people are actually imaging with those DSLRs, there's been just a lot of different options in getting those modified. And one of, I think, my favorite options, and ones that I wish I had got but never ended up getting, was the CDS cameras, and they're made by Central DS. I think that they are a Japanese company, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that they're a Japanese company, and they will modify a lot of different cameras. As far as DSLRs go, they'll do a lot of the different Canon products. I think that they do most of the new Sonys and also some of the Nikons. And so this company is just kind of pushing it. Not only will they make your camera cooled, but they will make your camera mono if you want. So I know that some of the products they offer are things like, I believe they do like a mono-cooled Canon 6D and a mono-cooled, I guess, A7S, and one of the other ones is the new Nikon, which was a big one that came out this year. So while we're going down this DSLR rabbit hole, we'll go over to the Nikon E810A, which was kind of a big deal. We haven't had a lot of astrophotography specific cameras designed, and this was one that I'm not sure, it either came out late last year or earlier this year, and one that I know that a couple people are using, either this one or the 800, modifying it themselves. But this is a full frame DSLR that is designed specifically for astrophotography. So we know our hobby's growing a little bit whenever you're getting cameras in this price range for DSLRs that are made specifically for astrophotography. So let me see before I get out of. Okay, so Central DS is a Korean company. I apologize. It is not a, Japanese company. It's a Korean company. And I want to make sure before I move on that I cover everything in the comments. And let's see. I do see something else about the standalone guider. So I want to cover a couple more points on that before I move on. Jeffrey is saying that the standalone guider, the version 2 of this, also provides camera exposure control, dithering, binning, and it's really a remarkably full-featured product. And he's just reinforcing what I've heard from other people. I think that you can even set up sequences and basically run a setup like you had a full computer. Now, you might not have quite the visual feedback that you would with a full computer, but you are getting basically a full imaging run controlled by just this little setup here. And like I said, I've heard quite a few really good things about this. So I think I'm going to move on from cameras, and we're going to move on to some actual optical gear. If anybody wants us to bring something back up with cameras, we'll go over there. I know one product that we looked forward to for quite a while was the Astrotech Newtonian, the truss tube, and we've been looking forward to that for a couple of years coming out now. They did start shipping these this year. I know that there's a handful of people that started using these, I think including maybe Terry Hancock had maybe the 10-inch version. I can't remember for sure which one he had, but that's something that we've all been looking forward to and really excited about for a while. Everyone wants a faster scope with more aperture, and this thing is built like a tank. Now, I haven't got the opportunity to actually use this myself. I've seen some really beautiful pictures with it, and also the 10-inch at this point, and I think that they shipped out, might have been something like a half dozen, either earlier this fall or late on in the summer. So this is a product definitely to keep your eyes out for, and I know that they're still having I don't see a ton of them out there yet, so definitely a product I'm excited to see how that goes. It's really probably the most affordable, what looks like pretty high quality product available for purchase in this field. There's a lot of Newtonians that are really nice that are a little bit more money, but this is kind of in line with the Astrotech RCs that are coming out with on price point, and something that's definitely a lot more accessible for a lot of images. So we're going to keep our eyes for that one. Another product that I really think has made a big deal this year is the Rokinon 135 f2 lens. And this is something that people have been using this year, matching up with CCDs and DSLRs and CMOS cameras, and really have been just doing amazing wide field work. We've all wanted lenses for a long time that had really minimal chromatic aberration, didn't have any kind of stars trailing in the corner. And this one, if you check out Astrobin, has just shown some absolutely stunning pictures on a regular basis. So it is the very short, very fast imaging answer that we've been looking for a long time now. I know that some people use something like the Canon 200mm lenses as well. In my experience in using both of them, nothing quite corrects like this 135mm lens. And I've heard rumblings from a couple people that there were quality control issues on them, but looking through what they were actually talking about, a lot of them either were solved by supporting the lens a little bit better, or by getting a little bit sharper focus. So this is really an exciting product that is not even an astrophotography specific product, but one that has been used. And this may have been Lloyd who used this first out at Deep Sky West, and he just did some really nice work with it, and I think it caught on in a hurry, and we're seeing it used quite a bit more. There was a couple other scopes that we talked about earlier this year that were introduced at NEAF, and I don't believe that they have all quite made the market yet. But one of the ones that we're really excited about here, and I'm going to bring this one up, is the Stellar View 80mm sextuplet. This one, I believe, is just about ready to ship or is shipping at this point, but I was able to actually see this out at the Chiefland Star Party this year, and it is beautiful, and the thing is built like a tank. Yeah, I think that it is not quite available for order yet, but that's, let's go back over and see if we can find this here. I do not see it on their front page yet, so it must not quite be shipping yet, but that's one that we're definitely looking forward to seeing is the SVS 80, which is going to be a 6-element lens, f4.3, I believe, with a focal length down around 330 millimeters. Now, another astrograph that Stellarvue came out with earlier this year that we were also excited about was their 130 millimeter f5 apo. This is kind of the way that a lot of these bigger companies are going right now, is that they are making these telescopes that are already flat fields and already fast. So we've had Stellarvue in years past came out with the SVQ 100. Now they're coming out with 130 millimeter f5 telescope. Takahashi came out with their FSQ 130 this year as well. So there's definitely more and more attention being paid to the astrophotography market, and more telescopes built specifically for the astrophotographers. So this is another one that's I've seen some just really fantastic work from. I believe that John Martin was doing a lot of good work, and if you want to check out some of the images there, you can go to the Stellarvue Yahoo groups, and just a lot of really nice work with this one. I have not seen anything with the FSQ 130 yet, so I know that a handful of people have those, but I haven't had the pleasure to see anything from those yet. Adam, I can see the YouTube conversation. I don't see anything on the Google Plus page. Are there any other comments or here that over?
Well, Tolga asked whether the Samyang and Rokinon are identical. Dylan thinks so. Tolga thinks so. What do you say?
I don't know the answer, so I'm not going to say.
All right.
I have bought the Rokinon myself a couple of times. As far as I understand it, they're the same, but I don't know that for a fact, so I wouldn't take that as really meaning much at this point. I believe that they're the same ones with different names, but I just don't know that for sure.
If anybody out there knows, you can comment.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll end it at we think so.
Yep, sounds good. So another thing that's been huge this year, I'm moving on from telescopes into computers. And I think that this has been the year where people are really adopting these stick computers much faster than they were. You know, I don't know, maybe there were a handful of people who were using them last year, but the adoption rate has certainly gone up this year. And the reason is the computers that you can buy are getting better, and they're getting cheaper, and they're packing more and more features into them. They're coming with Windows included in them. I'm pulling up the one that I personally use, and I know that there's a handful of other ones, so if anyone wants to make any comments, I'd be happy to pull those up. But the stick computer has absolutely transformed the way I image. I no longer have a big old wheelie cart out next to my telescope where I'm afraid of somebody stealing my computer or it getting rained on or dewy or anything like that. This is what I use, this little Intel compute stick. It's, the one I use is the M3. I just use that because I had heard of a couple of issues that other people are having with some of the other less expensive ones. And I just didn't, I was a little worried about dealing with any of the issues they had. I think that most of them have been figured out, but the M3 has just been awesome. It's just worked from the minute that I put it on there, and worked since then without any hiccups, really. You know, there were a couple settings that I figured out that I had to change, but basically I threw a little SD card, a micro SD 128 gigabyte card in there, and so I have all the storage I would need on it on a mini computer. And I run SGP and PhD2 on this. I run my 2 cameras that are actually keeping an eye on my area. I have 2 security cameras that I'm running on there. And then I control the whole thing through TeamViewer, either on my iPad or my iPhone or my laptop inside. And the thing has been just been robust and reliable. Certainly every bit as good as a couple laptops that I have that were a few years old. And this year I was even able to actually go set up at a Star Party, 3 or 4 hours away and come home and run the whole thing remotely by having this set up on there. So not only is it great that I don't have a laptop outside, but I'm able to put this right up on top of my telescope and just mount the whole thing, right up on top. So I'm running less and less stuff through the mount and less cables going in a lot of different directions. And it's just been a big deal. Tolga, if you want to link to the ones you were using, I know that there were some other ones that people are using as well, and I want to make sure I'm hitting a couple of the other ones that people are actually using. But there's lots of options for these where you can just download files straight from either Google Drive or Teamwork, or I think some people are using Windows Remote Desktop, and I'm not sure what people might be using on Macs. All my computers inside are Macs, so I run TeamViewer through the Mac, or I run TeamViewer on my iPad, and it's just pretty easy and straightforward to use. I'm going to pull up our Google Plus page to see if did Tolga put that down, Adam? The computer that he was using?
Sorry, I was talking to the computer with my microphone muted. No, he hasn't posted the link yet. He did mention that he thinks Software Abyss just introduced the Raspberry. There we go, the Raspberry Pi version of SkyX, and he did just post the link to his mini PC. And Jeff, I don't know if you saw Jeff's comment. Wow, compute stick on Windows 10. How does it work with SCOM drivers and for cameras and CCDs? And I'll elaborate my own question on that, which is how many USBs on that, and do you run a hub through it and all that?
Okay, so answering these in that order, Jeff, the answer with Windows 10 on this is that, yeah, I'm running Windows 10, and everything is run off of ASCOM, and honestly, it's just been very reliable. I haven't had any issues at all. The only issue I had at the beginning that took me just a little while to find out, I thought I had uninstalled all the, kind of the crapware that's installed on it when you get it. But the one thing it came with was a app where you could use your iPhone as a keyboard for it, and it would always run in the background. And I didn't realize that I didn't uninstall that. And then once I went and once I found that, and I was looking at kind of the system performance, I saw, for whatever reason, even though I wasn't actively using it, it was running about 40% of my power. So as soon as I uninstalled that, I had a couple crashes before that that I couldn't find out why, and I uninstalled that, and I haven't had one since. Another thing that people talk about with these that I forgot to bring up is the Windows updates. I know everyone really struggles with Windows updates and their computer turning off in the middle of the night, and people suggest changing your active time so that it won't do anything. People suggest turning off the updates. The answer that I found that I really like is I just go in and actually turn off that service. Now, doing that means that manually I need to go in once in a while and turn it on to make sure I get my updates so that it's secure. And I want it to be secure because I'm actually using TeamViewer and going through the internet on it. It's not like it used to be where once I got a stable setup running, I would never connect my computer to the internet anymore. I would just, connect my laptop to that and basically put it in a silo. I don't do that anymore, but turning it off in the services has actually just been bulletproof as far as it doesn't force any updates. It doesn't try to download anything at all for me. It's just been really good with that. Adam, to answer your questions, I use a USB 3 hub now. I use the Kendrick one, and I use the Kendrick one because it's heated, and I'll pull that up here, and I get a lot of very dewy conditions here, and I like the idea that it is internally heated. Now, I don't think that it's probably that big of a deal anyways, because since it will be powered it's probably going to heat enough that you don't have to worry about it. But it was something I was concerned about. So this is the one I use. It was a little bit probably overkill than what I needed to use. I've also used the CarTech one for a long time without any issues at all with it. But whenever I upgraded to this computer and wanted a USB 3 hub, this is the one that I went with. So I know some people use the CarTech like I did. I know some people actually use the StarTech one as well. But because this particular computer only has one USB 3 input, I definitely needed to go to a USB hub, which is fine. I've never had a computer personally that's had enough USB inputs that I didn't need a hub. But you can see down here, if I zoom in, there's that one USB 3 hub. This is the size of it. It's about 4.5 by 1.5 inches. I mean, it's really basically the size of a thumb drive. And so, yeah, this one's been great. It's powered. Now, the other thing that it is it's powered by a USB-C connector, which is something that's new. We're getting away from these same old 5.5, 2.1 power jacks, and I think a lot of these computers and a lot of the new devices are going to be powered by these USB-C inputs. So just I'm still powering this off of my PowerPole power hub, and I just basically run a PowerPole to USB-C adapter, and it powers this straight from the power hub, so I don't have any issues powering that and getting 12 volts into it. And I want to pull up the link that Tolga gave me too, so I don't forget. Bring this over here. And so some people aren't using the compute sticks, but they're using these mini computers, which are also great. And the advantages of these mini computers are typically they're built in with a little more storage space. You can get a little more powerful computer on them. You can a lot of times get a little bit more in far as getting your connectors on here, so you can get plenty of USB connectors. You get serial connectors. I think that they have antennas built in so that they can actually have a little bit more of a powerful Wi-Fi connection. And so they're just another option where if you don't want to necessarily mount it on top of your computer, but just want to put it on your pier or your tripod, a lot of people are using these as well. And it basically just gives you a little bit more power and maybe cuts down on the clutter a little bit if you don't want to have a USB hub as well. And now these ones, I think also you can either buy with or without Windows on them, just like you can with the stick computers. And I don't see a link to it, but I did want to bring up, as Tolga mentioned, that Software Best did introduce the Raspberry Pi version of the SkyX. So just a little tiny, basically, chip that you can mount on your tripod and run everything right off of there. And we also had somebody present earlier this year using Adam. Maybe you can help me remember what were we presenting on earlier this year as another option for running your gear. I think. Go ahead.
Well, Tolga did his on the Kotom. Did we have something in addition to that? Oh yeah. K-Stars and Indy on the Raspberry Pi, I believe.
Yeah.
I forget what was the name of the software, the specific software package.
Ecos.
Ecos. You got it.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah. So that was another exciting one that we had a presentation. If you're interested in learning about this earlier this year, we had a presentation using the Raspberry Pi with this development. And so just another option. And I think the idea of this was basically decentralized control of your gear. It was also a very interesting presentation and saying kind of just another option. So we're going further and further away from basically a laptop next to your computer and closer to somewhat wireless imaging or wireless control, and maybe even to the point now where having wireless devices isn't as important. Certainly isn't as important to me. There was a long time where I thought that Bluetooth control of the mount and the camera and stuff would be really cool, but now that my entire rig is all sitting right up on top of my telescope, it just doesn't feel quite like that big of a deal anymore. I see Alex commenting he's been using the Quotom, working great for him. But he does have a good USB hub to go along with it. And same thing, he does what I do. He basically puts a thumb drive into his computer. It sounds like instead of using a SD card to expand his computer's storage capacity, he just uses a thumb drive and maybe has his files right directly to it and then brings it in at the end of the night or the next morning to his home desktop, which is not way dissimilar. I kind of go back and forth on downloading straight from my computer through either TeamViewer or Google Drive, or sometimes I just bring out the thumb drive to my little hub here. I'll bring out a little USB thumb drive and plug it in there and just grab my stuff since it's right outside. I go back and forth a little bit on both of those. Let me go back up and make sure that I'm catching all of the comments here that I have to do. Looks like everything, right, Adam?
Am I speaking? Yes. Looks like everything. I see a few aha moments. I don't know if you noticed Jeff Lucas, his question. So I can run APT, Stellarium, Registack 6, ICAP, and PhD2 on this stick? And I think the answer is yes, you can.
Absolutely. I wouldn't see any reason you couldn't. The one nice thing about image capturing software and running your gear is that you don't really require a lot of power to run this stuff. And really, you know, these computers, like this M3 that I'm using, is every bit as powerful as the old little kind of Dell laptop that I have sitting here. And I'm not talking about a real old clunker. I'm talking about one of the little XPS 15 or 13-inch ones from just a couple of years ago. I mean, as you can see, it's got a solid state drive, 4 gigabytes of RAM, which is plenty for everything I'm doing on here. And it's just, like I said, it's been really reliable. And it sounds like most people are having pretty similar experiences. I think that, you know, the first handful of these that came out, people were having to find some workarounds and maybe having some issues with shutting it down, or maybe some interference with the Wi-Fi. But overall, it seems like a lot of the experiences with these have just been really, really positive. And now I know that they're also coming out with little mini routers as well. So if you want to put a little router on top of your Scope 2, you can get ones that are, you know, just a couple inches by a couple inches and really kind of expand the reach of your gear. So not everyone's gear is set up about 15 feet from their house like mine is. I think a lot of people have it maybe kind of out in the yard just a little ways, and I think people are using those mini routers also to reach out to their computer. So I think that pretty much covers the computers. That covers the cameras. We've gone over some telescopes and some of the optical stuff here. I think I'm going to move on and just talk about some of the star parties before getting into the pictures.
You know, Josh, I just want to mention one thing. I posted the link to the Quotom computer that Tolga gave us, but in the chat. But remember, we're talking about two different things here: the sticks, which are teeny tiny, and then the mini, or I shouldn't say mini. What do they consider them? The very small PCs, which are basically a 4 or 5 inch by 5 inch box.
Yeah, I'll bring that up one more time here just to drive that home. So this is the Quotom computer. This one is basically that little box that Adam was just talking about. You can see here on the sizes of it, it's about, looks like it's 5 inches by 5 inches by about not quite 2 inches. So this is almost 5 by 5 by 2, whereas these little stick computers are the ones that are a little bit smaller, and these are the ones that are just basically like big thumb drives, and they really are. They're a little bit longer than them, but height-wise, they may be even thinner than a lot of the thumb drives that I'm actually using. So two different options, and typically these stick computers aren't quite as powerful as the little computers that you can buy, like we were just showing. And one more time, you can also buy these with or without operating systems. And I'm not sure. It seems like maybe the rules change, or some companies follow the rules whether or not Windows is included with them or not included. And there's lots of options. So when you're shopping through them, just make sure that you kind of look through the options that are available for that. So I think that does cover that covers a lot of the gear. So there's a lot of really exciting stuff going on as far as making imaging more portable or easier, or getting better cameras. So there are a lot of exciting things this year, and hopefully next year will be just as exciting too. Like I said, I think the one thing that I'm looking forward to more than anything is more stuff to make your gear mobile, and a larger mono sensor. I think those are the two things that I'm really excited about. And also hopefully seeing some of the larger camera companies, we're talking about the FLIs and the QSIs and maybe SBIG coming in with some CMOS sensors. It would be cool to see what they do if they bring in CMOS sensors too. So just a lot of really exciting gear, exciting things coming up next year, not to mention an Eclipse. But so now I'm going to move on to some star parties I attended. I know that Alex has been to some, and David, if he's in the room, has been to some. So I just kind of want to briefly go over them. And every year I'll always start with the Okie-Tech Star Party, which is just my favorite, just because the atmosphere and the location, especially being an East Coast guy, getting to make that drive out to Oklahoma and be under their sky is just such a really cool and refreshing experience. Here you can see a drone shot of the field out here in Oklahoma. And once again this year, we just had really fantastic weather. I think that we had maybe 6 out of 8 nights were just perfect. I think maybe 1 or 2 nights that weren't perfect were just partially clouded over. I think maybe the only night that we didn't have that was a full imaging night was the night before the star party started, after we helped set everything up. So it was just a fun event. Lots of great speakers throughout the week. Meet lots of people. There's lots of great vendors there. Great food as well. And just really, especially for the guys on the East Coast, just kind of a completely unique experience. So this has been my 3rd year in a row of going there, and really just you know, the weather continues to be great. We're lucky out there. I think I've only missed maybe 3 or 4 out of 25 imaging nights there since I've been there. They do a great job of doing outreach during the start party. They have kids come by. There's lots of great scenery, lots of people with drones out there taking cool pictures, and lots of astrophotographers out there too, which is really cool for us because there's all kinds of great gear to go and see and chat with people about. And just a really fun event, and like I said, with a lot of great speakers, and definitely learned lots of things. So you can check them out on Facebook. I think typically they have somewhere around 500 people, maybe 500 plus people coming out to their star parties. I know next year they're actually expanding the field a little bit because there's been such great attendance that it's getting a little bit crowded. So next year they're expanding the field a little bit, and I guess maybe looking to see even a little bigger attendance than what they've been doing so far. So definitely, if you're out there, come over and say hi, and look forward to seeing you next year. Here's a picture of the inside of the tent with one of the speakers, and you can see this place just gets absolutely packed whenever they do it. They also have lots and lots of really huge prize giveaways. You know, they might give out something like 200 prizes or something throughout the week. Here you can see a couple of pictures of the rainbows. We had one little kind of chunk of rain here, and had a nice double rainbow. I think that was maybe the last night right before they gave out the prizes. So that was a great event. The next one I'll talk about, because it's one I've gone to, is the Winter Star Party, which for me is, the astronomy is a lot of fun, but really it's always been about coming down to the Keys in the middle of the winter. Now that I live in Florida, I think I'll enjoy it just as much, but it'll be a little bit less of a drive. Instead of a full day drive to get down here, or 2-day drive, it's just going to be kind of around the corner for me. But it's always just a really cool event. Seems like maybe there's some more families that come down here, and people popping in with their families because it's just a break from the middle of the winter. But you can see in these pictures here that it's just a super beautiful location, located on Scout Key, which hosts a Boy Scout and Girl Scout site here. And they have some nice amenities. They have nice showers here. They have a good food vendor here, and it's always a fun party and just absolutely gorgeous. And so anybody who's looking to get away from the winter kind of nasty weather, usually the weather's pretty good here. Last year it was pretty good. The year before was actually kind of nasty, but I think a lot of the times it's just perfect down here. This year I believe it's in the end of February in 2017. So coming up before too long, and I know that signups have been out for a while. So if that's one you're interested in going to, then definitely make sure that you get signed up for that before too long, especially if you have an RV or anything. Those spots always go very quickly. Adam, do we get any posts from David or Alex about some of the star parties they attended?
We have not.
Okay.
They know.
You talking about me, Josh?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I haven't actually been to any of the major ones this year. I've done a bunch of small outreach events and stuff like that, but no major star parties.
Oh, okay. Well, one that I know that you, I don't know if you would call it a star party, but the RTMC, right?
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
There you go.
Hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, where am I? Ooh, I'm in weird land here. Can you see my screen with RTMC Astronomy Expo on it?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I've been associated with RTMC since I was a little baby astronomer back in about 1995, and it's gone through a lot through the 45 or something, 1968, whatever that is, to now 48 years that it's been running. And it's got about 600 to 800 people come to it, and these tents and everything else like that. We don't have that many tents anymore. We've probably got about 25 vendors now, but we're in the Big Bear, California. It's a beautiful place. We always have an astroimaging workshop there. Last year, it was David Alt who gave us a pretty good show, and we expect as much from Josh Smith this next May. So you've just been listening to Josh for the last 57 minutes or something, and he'll be doing the workshop on Sunday. That's Memorial Day weekend. So there's usually some pretty good observing. It's not strictly a star party. It's got 4 different venues running: Beginner's Corner, the main hall speaker, the another area where they've got workshops and things like that, and then they've got the vendor area. So there's lots of different things, and then it's not nearly as organized as many star parties I've been to, and I've been to a lot of star parties. It's not nearly that kind of organization. You can camp in lots of different places, and there's lots of places to put your telescopes up. There's some telescope making awards for those who have made their own telescopes and stuff, the imaging workshop and stuff like that. Like I said, 600 to 800 people go up there every year, 25 or so vendors on average lately. And so it's a pretty good time. You should come see it. Our favorite star party in a lot of ways is Anza Borrego down at Nightfall. And we've got a couple of guys in the room tonight that have been to Nightfall with us. And January 8th, actually, we're going to have shows, imaging rigs from Nightfall. And we've got some videos of people that have built up imaging rigs, and they're going to show off what's happening. So that's what we're going to do on the Astro Imaging channel on January 8th. So I'm not going to say too much more about Borrego Springs and that. Next year, it's October 19th to the 22nd. The cool thing about this is it's at an RV resort. And so you've got to make your reservations very early. And it's out in the California desert, one of the internationally recognized dark sky cities. Borrego Springs is the name of the place. We've got 2 pools. We've got showers. There's a restaurant with a bar. It's not your typical star party, and there's a great big observing field and an RV park where people bring their RVs and just camp out there. We'll find out more about that next January 8th when we've got a couple of guys in. Wes and Phil are in the room tonight for the first time. Do you guys have anything to add about Nightfall? Don't be shy. Unclick your microphone.
Well, it was a really good time meeting a lot of people out there.
Okay. Great.
I think it was my fourth time that I've gone. It was probably the worst weather of all the times I've gone, but I thoroughly enjoy it, and it's a great opportunity to learn astro imaging, and I'm a newbie. I started in 2013, so I really appreciate people taking the time to help you out, and that's great.
Richard Wright gave the presentation last year. He did a great job. And I don't know who's doing it next year. We're still looking at that. There's one other thing I want to talk about, and that's the Advanced Imaging Conference. This is starting to be this has become a point where it's taking place every couple of years. It's coming on at the end of September, and we're going up there, and we're going to have some fun. Hey, I know some of these people. At any rate, this is the Advanced Imaging Conference, guys. This is the big one. This is where they come and they've got billions. There's Warren. Hi, Warren. Warren and I have an adventure plan next year for this. It'll be fun. And they've got all sorts of really great presenters coming up there. And you're really hanging around with some of the best of them. And I know Eric's been there. Eric, you want to say something about AIC?
Yeah, I just wandered around kind of starry-eyed, introducing myself to all these people that I've seen online. So that was kind of my experience, and definitely I'm going to go again. And if you're interested in astrophotography and you can go there, go there.
Yeah, it's really quite a trip. Go ahead, get your reservations in. There'll be about 300 or so people, if I'm not mistaken. It is the Advanced Imaging Conference. By the way, this is AIC. You are hearing about it on TAIC. We are separate organizations. Really, we just happen to have initials that kind of sound like AIC. But this is the big show, guys. This is really a great thing to be at. So I hope that's in the spirit of what we're doing here tonight, Josh, just talking about these three things. By the way, I've also been to Oregon, Winter, Texas, Stellafane, and they've all got something going. And the Grand Canyon is the biggest star party of them all. If you can ever go to the Grand Canyon Star Party, it's just a wonderful time. 30,000, 40,000 contacts. That's not the same thing as people coming, but the National Park Service makes a big survey of how many people actually look through their scopes, and it's a week-long thing. That's one of the great star parties of the world right there, okay? So those ones I'd highly recommend. Okay, that's out for me.
Thanks, Alex. Definitely appreciate you chiming in there. So the last star party, I wanted to talk about Chiefland, and I went to their website, and it wasn't up anymore. So it looks like after a little bit of searching, the new website for ChieflandAstronomy.com is now BillyDoddField.com. So anyone who's been to the Chiefland Star Party, that one was a lot of fun this year, and met some really great people, and just an awesome site. And there's a bunch of people that actually have houses there and their own observatories. But the other thing that's really cool about it is it has some nice amenities, but you can also go up there any new moon if you're a club member. So for someone like me who's not too far away, that's definitely going to be pretty appealing for anybody who's a northerner who wants to come down and get out of the snow for a new moon or for a week or so. You know, it's definitely a great getaway, and like I said, you're not just restricted to going only on the star party time. So anyone who's looking for information about that one, new website just came up, Billy Dodd Field. So it looks like maybe this has only been out for a couple of days or something, but just browsing through the website very briefly, looks like it's really beautiful. And here you can see some pictures of some of the folks, that have a nice prize drawing, imaging contest, and a couple of good presentations as well. So definitely a great star party to attend. So I think that is all I have for events and star parties, Adam. If that if there are no other comments, I think the only other thing I wanted to do was share just a handful of my favorite pictures of the year, both from Astrobin and our image of the week ones.
The only comment I see that we really didn't cover was, well, Peach State Stargaze in Georgia, October 15th to the 22nd. CJ is vouching for that one. It's the only star party I didn't hear us mention. So go right ahead with your images.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to start with Astrobin, and then I'm going to work my way over to our Facebook image of the weeks. But I just pulled up a handful of ones that I really like, and a couple of images that I really like that we didn't necessarily get to feature over here. And we'll go all the way back to January 1st, 2016. Rick Stevenson, anyone who doesn't know him, he's got, I think, both a setup out at SRO and possibly, I think one down maybe, I don't know if it's in Chile, somewhere in the Southern Hemisphere. He's coming up with some good Southern targets as well. So start off with just a really beautiful image of the tadpoles and working our way back through the year. Lorenzo Ciliano, he's a well-known name on Astrobin. We also had a rosette today, but this one's just an incredible kind of close-up, really sharp, detailed picture here. And this is the dark dust that we all try and get when we image that to really get a lot of nice contrast in there. Working our way further in through the year. My favorite target in the night sky, and now I've seen 2 or 3 other people after I shot that a couple of years ago, which is SH2308, big giant dusty soap bubble down south. And this is probably still up in the sky, I think, for a while now. Anus may be able to say something about that in the YouTube room, who might have a nice surprise for us next week with this target. But just a beautiful kind of big, large bubble with all kinds of details and folds and background, kind of diffuse dust, both in O3 and HA, and I think even a little bit in S2. Just a really great picture. This one was done by Richard earlier this year in Oxygen, mostly with O3 and some RGB stars, I believe. So that's a great target for anyone looking for something as a southern target right around now. Moving forward, this is a guy that I've really come to appreciate a lot. His pictures, Matt Harbison does just some really cool, really bright and in-your-face images, which I like a lot with his style. He does both wide field and some up-close stuff, but this Orion Molecular Cloud Complex from earlier this year, just that was one that stood out to me pretty much all year long. I've gone back to look at that one, and it's got a little bit of everything in there, from M78 to Orion to the Horsehead and Witchhead and a lot of the LDN targets up here. Just a very, very nice job on this target. Keep on moving forward, and we had a nice eclipse earlier this year, and always on the Astroimaging channel, we love kind of original presentations or nice kind of original captures, and this was one that just stood out as soon as it was taken and nicely processed, just kind of to show the effect of the diamond ring. Just a beautiful job taken in March of this year, and really excited to see some of the, I'm sure there's going to be lots and lots of apods coming out of our solar eclipse this year. I can't wait to see what people are doing and what kind of original ideas they have in mind to actually capture that this year. One of my other favorite things to see in the night sky are multiple targets that are both interesting and paired together in the same picture. And this is one of my favorite pairs, and want to thank Steve Cooper from earlier this year for capturing both this pair and a lot of the little background galaxies. If you have a chance to look at this image and actually open it, it's just littered with background galaxies and very clean all the way throughout. Really nice capture there. And again, part of the reason to go through all these image of the days and image of the weeks that we have on Facebook are just to hopefully introduce you both to some imagers and to some images that maybe you want to take. And so we all know about the Scorpius region and the Rho Ophiuchus region, but Waiho Wang is probably one of my favorite wide field imagers. He just does absolutely incredible work. We were talking about that Nikon D810A, the astrophotography camera earlier tonight, and he's just done some absolutely incredible wide field work here. And you just see just super rich colors and bright blue stars and bright nebula throughout. So this is one that for anyone who's looking for more southern targets, you can go pretty much anywhere in the southern sky. for a lot of the spring and summer and grab all kinds of just amazing stuff. You can do it at any focal length. The wider you get, the more you include, or the more narrow you get, the more details you can get on just some of these crazy regions in here. And we'll keep on moving through. And like I said, another thing we really like are kind of special images or images that capture something you don't see every day. And not very often do you see the International Space Station taken like this. This is just as sharp and crisp as I think I've ever seen it. Just an absolutely wonderful job by Alessandro Bianchini. Biancanu. I'm sorry that I don't know how to pronounce that, but nonetheless, a really great job taking in June of this year of the International Space Station. There's I think Alex has probably posted a couple articles I remember we talked about on his website about actually capturing the space station. And if you Google imaging the ISS, there's really something to it. And people kind of have their own technique to do it and also to stack it. But just seeing the absolutely incredible details in this one just really stood out to me. So it's something that you could probably practice for a summer before you get down and do a really good job of capturing the ISS. Moving on, another one from Rick, and I like sharing some of these southern targets because we don't get to see those very often. We see a lot of the northern targets, but this bipolar emission nebula is just absolutely fantastic, and one that I don't think that probably any of us northerners will get a chance to shoot. As you can see, it's almost down at -50 degrees in declination. So just one, if you are on a trip down south, I think at the Keys you may or may not have an opportunity to shoot this. I think that it would be pretty far south to actually get down there, but if you're on a trip maybe to South America or somewhere in Europe, there's just a great opportunity. That's one that I would love to see more people take, but another great one from Rick there. Moving on, one that we all like seeing, and this one stood out to me, is just absolutely fantastic details. The Pillars of Creation here. And this is a fun target for anyone to take, and if you haven't taken it yet, I encourage you to take it because there are just really, really crisp details, but it's also bright enough that if you have an HA filter and even a little refractor, you are going to get some of these great details. Just really sharp, crisp stuff all the way around. And not a target I've actually shot yet. I've been kind of putting it off, and I would like to. I was planning on doing that with near infrared this year, but I think I'll do that next year. So just one for people to definitely give a try and see if you can match this kind of resolution. Just definitely feels like you're kind of floating in space there. Moving on, one of my new favorite imagers is one of our buddies, Jason Gwinzel, 13 on Cloudy Nights, if you don't know him, through Astrobin, and he's just doing a lot of really cool work with his longer focal length stuff, and he's one of the guys shooting with an ASI 1600. But this picture of the Rose Galaxy almost looks Hubble-like. It's just absolutely fantastic details and really clean. I know he put a lot of work into this one, so is among many great images from him this year. But he's definitely a great guy to check out if you like seeing different kinds of galaxies, peculiar galaxies, interacting galaxies. He does a lot of really nice work with that kind of stuff. Another guy, Eric Coles, I don't know about him as an imager, but this picture sure is very nice. NGC 7129. I love seeing some of the targets that he comes up with that setup out west. It's just a lot of really beautiful reflection dust, dark dust, kind of dirty brown dust in the background with a lot of really beautiful stars and some HA knots in there. And this was probably one of my favorite images of his this year. But if you go through his album from this year, you can find practically anything that you want in there. Just taken with great gear and processed really well. So nice work on that, Eric. And also I want to mention Mel, who he shares his setup out west with, Mel Helm. They bring us lots and lots of nice images, and way deeper than pretty much any of us can get them. So thanks again, Eric, for sharing those. This one was a pretty recent one that was just really beautiful capture of the Northern Lights. This is another kind of imaging that is completely separate from what we do, just like kind of imaging the ISS. It's imaging stuff that's kind of more close in our sky, but still of the night sky. And we've seen a lot of really cool pictures of the Northern Lights this year, both static ones and moving ones. this one I really enjoyed just because of the white trees. It just shows such a perfect, sharp contrast that it was one that I thought I would share with you guys as kind of an idea of maybe something different to do if you're capturing the northern lights, or even if you're capturing just the Milky Way or stars, just finding a way to get something a little more interesting in the foreground. So beautiful work there. And the last one I have, I'm sorry, that was the last one I have for Masterbin. So I'm going to come over to Facebook again here real quick and make sure that we capture some of our guys' work from the image of the week. Probably go through these pretty briefly, but if you come on to our page, you can see on our page in the photos section that we actually archive all of the image of the week winners here. This goes back about a year and a half. I think we missed a couple of them here and there, but mostly about a year and a half we've got this image of the week folder here. And as you know, if you get selected for the image of the week, you actually get your picture put up on the banner both here and the Google Plus banner for the Astro Imaging channel. So we're going to scroll through some of these pictures just because we like sharing them, and they were well-deserved images. Derek Santiago from out west, or doing some real, I'm sorry, not out west, he's in New Jersey, I believe, just doing some really nice work with Planetary Nebula this year, just doing a lot of really cool up-close stuff and sharing some new targets that I think a lot of us haven't seen before. So really nice work there on that one. Wide field image here from Bill McLaughlin. I know Bill had quite a few image of the weeks from us. He does really nice stuff. As we always say, we really like reflection and faint stuff, and this field's just got a little bit of everything in it. So very, very cool image here. Moving forward, we talked about the Winter Star Party, just a really fun time. And Phil Kaiser, this is a nebula that, well, a galaxy, I should say, but called Covington's Nebula, that if you haven't tried, it is faint and it is challenging, and especially at the scale is challenging, and there's all kinds of IFN in the background. So another target that's just absolutely wonderful. And this one, I don't think you know how good it is until you try to shoot it. This one was just done really, really well. Hytham, one of our good friends here in the Astro Imaging channel, every picture he does is an image of the week or APOD worthy, but this one always stood out to me as just really fantastic, catching the background HA and some of the brown reflection dust. And I believe he even did a presentation where he showed how to do color control and processing this one. So if you want to see how to actually process an image the way that Hytham processed this one, just do a search for our show with Hytham on there, and you'll see how this one actually came out. It's just a beautiful shot. Another one of our regular image of the week people is Nicholas Gazillion. He's really just turned into a fantastic imager this week, and always like seeing the jellyfish, but this one just kind of really stood out as a very 3D and very sharp image of the week. Baba Daniels, one of our friends down in Florida's, got to meet him this year. Just really great guy, and he's starting to do some really nice work with his setup as well. Cool picture of the rosette here. Christopher Gomez, another guy who's taken a couple. He's done some really cool wide field stuff, both Milky Way stuff and just wide field deep sky object stuff. So thanks for sharing that one, Chris. Dylan just does awesome work. He had an APOD with a ISS transit, I believe, of the sun earlier this year, but this one was my probably favorite image of his as a deep sky object. So really nice work there. Etta Karina, Greg Allegrati. We like all these little planetary nebulas. The Able 39 was no exception, so that was a really great job there. This one was one that I remember really well. Andy taking a picture of the IFN surrounding Polaris. Just a really, really cool shot, and one that I thought would be really hard to do because of guiding around Polaris and stuff like that, and just kind of just goes to show you point your telescope anywhere in the night sky and look how much dust there is. All you have to do is go deep enough to get it. So great job on that. This picture was by me, and it was in honor of the Penguins winning the Stanley Cup. So hopefully a year from that date, we will have a picture that looks just like that again. Adam Landefeld, another guy who's gotten a few good pictures this year that we've honored with Image of the Week, but this one was a nice picture. The M101, Vincent Hoffman here with NGC 7822, just a beautiful picture. Corey Phillips, I think, had a couple Image of the Weeks this year too, with some really nice nightscape work. That one taken out of Nevada. Richard Flynn, every picture he does is also really great. This one stood out just because of the nice dust in the background, the great star control, and if you zoom in on this picture, the details are just unmatched there on M20. So always love having Richard's work on there and sharing that. Just a great job there. Another wide field one, like I said, Chris just does awesome wide field work. This one's M11 with a lot of dark dust in the background. Greg Vorhakis did a really nice combination here. And this one looks like it was done pretty much all in narrowband. So just a really cool palette and showing lots of depth here over in M17. Just great work there. More from Eric. As we said with Eric, everything he does just is deep and clean, and it's just really nice seeing this one here. So it's 6823 and taken out of SRO with Eric and Mel. Great work there. Ken Lawson with just an absolutely stunning nightscape here. Just another kind of imaging again, something a little different from our deep sky work, but wonderful work there. Nicholas Kazillian with more on Pelican and the North American Nebula. Carlos David catching the row region with a wide field lens there, just really great work there. And more from Dylan on those M17, yeah, just really nice work there. We're coming up on it, but another picture from Adam. We love seeing kind of faint stuff, and there's nothing that's as pretty as kind of faint O3 shells surrounding really detailed hydrogen alpha. So great work on the Crescent Nebula there. If you guys don't know about the Crescent Nebula, both the O3 surrounds the Crescent itself if you go deep enough on it, and there is a soap bubble somewhere down in here. I don't know if we got that in this picture or not, but there is also a very cool and not imaged enough soap bubble just down there in that field. Just wonderful wide field stuff from Nicholas Kazillian. He did a lot of stuff. We could pretty much give him an image of the week every week this year. He's getting really good at a lot of the kind of dusty stuff, and just another great one from him. Eric Coles on the Butterfly Nebula, looking like a little bit more wider field work there. I would guess that was probably with his AP130. Tolga, this was my favorite image of Tolga's this year, the elephant trunk, just really great work. And I believe this one might have been taken with the ASI 1600. Tolga can chime in on this post if he's wrong, but if I was wrong. But the colors in this are great, and dark dust just stands out really well. Stars are very well controlled. This was one of my favorite pictures this year. Just really great stuff. This picture is probably the most impressive picture to me from this year, just because I've shot all these targets, and I can tell you every one of them's hard. The Fireworks Galaxy is hard. The cluster over here is hard. The Dark Nebula, which is Barnard, I believe that one's 150, is really hard. There's also some IFN through the background here that's really tough. Anyone who's shot the Squid Nebula OU4 inside of the Flying Bat knows that that's really hard. Some faint Reflection Nebula both up here and in the bottom. This one I just think is just probably the most technically impressive image I saw this year from one of our submitters. So just really great work there. Corey Phillips on another very cool and intriguing nightscape here. Just great work there, Corey. Thanks for submitting that one. Warren Spring, we love planetary nebulas, like I said, and NGC 7094 is just a great job from Warren. And he probably used a 6-inch RC on this. I think he usually shoots with some pretty modest gear, but does some really fantastic stuff with an ATIC 314 and a 6-inch RC. So great work there. Israel Gill has shared some really fantastic images with us here recently. This Iris was just really great stuff, and I know that he submitted another one that didn't take image of the week, but it was really great recently. So check out his work. Annie Ermoli, I think this one was an archive one that I pulled up from a while ago, but just love seeing tidal tails, and look at all these galaxies here. Everywhere you look in this frame, there's just another interesting interacting galaxy throughout the entire frame. So great work there. Tolga got another one. His imaging is really improving and just showing some real great processing skills. And this image of the Ghost of Cass was great. And I think that he even applied some lessons learned from some of our tutorials to up the color in this one, and it just came out looking great, and certainly looks like a ghost. Nice work, Tolga. And then we're coming up to last week with Greg's California Nebula. And again, for Don Curry, thanks for submitting this. Just a wonderful picture of the rosette. So don't forget, guys, I know it took a while going through that, but I really like highlighting all the images that everyone submits throughout the year. It's great seeing all the submissions, and and we definitely appreciate you guys doing that. It's nice seeing new targets, new styles of processing, new colors, and all that. So really great stuff, and looking forward to seeing more from you guys next year. And hopefully we are looking to get some sponsors. So we may actually be sponsoring Image of the Week or Image of the Month starting next year. So a lot of really cool stuff. So Adam, that's all I have, and I think that wraps up this year.
Awesome.
For
Very,
the Astro Imaging channel.
very cool wrap up for the year. You covered a lot, and it was kind of an exciting year with all the new cameras coming out. And of course, we keep growing. I think we are about to cross 4 million minutes streamed. So there is a milestone for you. And then, well, we'll keep you updated with some of our milestones. But Josh, thank you. Thanks for the great yearly wrap up. And Alex is applauding quietly. So.
Well, thank you everyone
And
for
Josh-
watching and hanging out.
Gosh, I mean, you should get a lot of credit too with the you've been doing lately. That's just something
Well-
over and beyond.
Thank you, Tolga. And so everyone knows we enjoy this just as much as you guys do. We've met so many great people and learned so much on this channel. It's just been I think the pleasure is all ours. You know, going to star parties, it feels like everyone I talk to watches the show now, and everyone I talk to has something nice to say or a good comment or good ideas for us. And it's really just been an awesome part of becoming part of the community, and looking forward to it growing more and more. It seems like we're getting more and more people and the new avenues to reach more people. So it's been awesome. And thanks to Adam. I think we've been doing this almost 3 years now. Is that right?
Yeah.
We started off wanting to help each other process. And I think it was me, Adam, Hytham, but who else was, maybe that was it in the room the first day?
3 years in June. 3 years in June.
3 years in June.
Yeah.
So 2.5. We'll take it.
Cool. Well, so we get a break. Everyone gets a break from us for 2 weeks, and we get a break for 2 weeks.
Yeah, but we already are getting some good stuff scheduled for next year. So coming up in, let me think, January 8th, was it? Alex on...
We've got a bunch of videos. We just our camera down and we asked people to show off your imaging rig, what you've got on it, why you made that decision, what advice you have for people that, you know, want to take these kind of pictures, what kind of, just ask them a bunch of questions, the kind of questions you guys like to ask over in the comment section and stuff like that. And we're trying to arrange it so that we can get those people on and kind of describe their rigs. We'll see how that goes.
Awesome. We like talking about gear, so definitely. Hopefully we get to see their power distribution, because that's the one thing that we all love looking at, right?
We've got a few people running some rig runner stuff and things like that. Yeah, it's definitely a geeky thing.
Exactly. And then after Alex, we have someone who's going to present on Arduinos in astronomy, which sounds like a cool one for some of the tinkerers and the guys who like to build it themselves so they could build it right. But that's...
And then the week after that, we have a whole session on focusing gear, how to focus, why to focus, and learning more and more than you could ever want to know about focusing, which will be great. I'm very excited about that one.
Awesome. I've been doing a lot of texting about focusing recently, so maybe I'll have to say, hey, just check us out in a month.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. Well, thanks guys for coming. Thanks for a great year, and we will see you in 2017. And hopefully, you guys have had some more clear skies than I have. But mine's coming tomorrow, so I'll share my results. You guys share your results, and well, I guess that's it. Thanks to all of the contributors this year, though. The contributors, the people who do these presentations, are the people who make the show. So, and I'll call them out: Josh, Alex, David, Dylan's in the room, Tolga's helped us out, and then I know I'm going to miss a whole bunch of people, but you guys know who you are. Thanks again. Good night.